Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2018 Hunter Track Classic here at the Hunter Sports Stadium in Glendale. I'm Matt Whitbread for Athletics New South Wales, and joining me tonight is Elana Withnall, Jack Collett and Youcef Abdi on the live stream. Lani, what are you looking forward to tonight? There's a fair bit of sprint racing happening.
I'm most looking forward to probably the women's 400 metres, as we've got Olympian and World Championship representative Morgan Mitchell coming up from Victoria, so it should be one to watch.
Jack Collett, you know a thing or two about 400 metre running. What are you looking forward to, mate?
I'm looking forward to the young up-and-coming guys. Tyler Gunn, definitely a good one to watch from the Central Coast. Matt Wood, great athlete from Sydney Uni. Rich Haggie, the old bloke from Sydney Uni, still going strong. And Jay Stone, a late entry, also a great old bloke to watch in this one.
Made the trip from Armidale, of course, Jay Stone. He's run many a National Open final in his day and still continues to do so. Pretty impressive. Someone who knows a bit about running reasonably late in their career. Youcef Abdi went to a couple of Olympics, mate. Are you looking forward to something a bit longer, I would have thought?
Yeah, definitely. I'm actually looking forward to the women's steeplechase. Victoria Mitchell, at the age of 35, she's still loving the sport and still going strong. And the 1500 meters men, Morgan McDonald, he's been running sensational in the US. So it will be very interesting to see him tonight. Obviously, some other guys might spoil the party for him, but it will be an interesting race. The 1500 women, Jenny Blundell, she's trying to find her form, so looking forward to that. And overall, I think it will be an exciting night.
Blundell gets back to her favoured distance of 1500 metres, of course, tonight. The other two main events of the night are the men's and women's 5000 metres. Been a while at the Hunter since we've had those as the main events of the night. Men's 5,000 metres going to be headlined by some young guns, some new open athletes. Ed Goddard led a big majority of the Zatopek before being run over by some of the older boys. Matt Hudson is a multi-time New South Wales champion over the 5,000 metres. But the women's race is what I'm most looking forward to tonight. I know, Youcef, we were chatting about this last night. Melissa Duncan comes back from a long time injured, the better part of a year off. She'll race Lyndon Hall from the Victorian battle. But the one I'm most interested to see is Emily Berkacek, who comes back after over a year out of the sport. Did have a run at Zatopek, but that was her first run in about 15 months. Her personal best is about 30 seconds faster than anyone in this field, and that includes multiple Australian representatives. So if she can be anywhere near top shape, it could be a real return to racing for Emily. All that and more to look forward to here tonight as we get ready for some field events for the first hour or so, and then we'll get underway with the track action here at the Hunter Sports Stadium. Stick with us. Just quickly, do you have a prediction as the boys take their blocks?
Mine in this one's Tyler Gunner's, Matt Wood's late scratching. One to watch out starts, Matt Scott for sure.
Cleanly away in the men's 400. So from the inside out, Haggie, Aldrich, Scott, Gunn, Doris, Mizzi, Haranko and Stones. They go down the back straight for the first time. Tyler Gunn is going well in lane 4 for Gosford Athletics in the blue singlet there. Jordan Doris trying to box on his outside, and the outside for Sydney University. He's looking to go around this field. Tyler Gunn leading the field, and it's straight for the last time as Lewis Haranko looks to make a move down the outside, but Tyler Gunn is in a league all by himself. Matt Scott's going well on the inside of the track, and so is Jordan Doris, but Tyler Gunn is going to lead them all the way. Take it out from Scott, and then Doris for Sydney University. Over on the inside was Rich Haggie. As the boys from the outside started to come down, Damien Mizzi and Lewis Haranko of Sydney University. So the boys into their blocks now. The ones to watch for: Roberts, the 19-year-old, centre of the track in the Bankstown yellow and green singlet. Conor Marnie on his outside, the 22-year-old. Look also for Nicholas Bode of Knox on their inside. Cleanly away at the first time of asking. Roberts looked to get out well. So did Conor Marnie. Going well on his inside is Nicholas Bate. So Roberts and Bate to the front of the field. Going well in the centre of the track though. Will Roberts just too good for this field. 10.46, and we'll wait for an official wind. Looked like Conor Marnie on his outside ran a good race, particularly later in the race, and Nicholas Bate was going very well over on the inside of the track as well. 10.82, the official winning time, and we'll wait to hear something about the wind.
Will Roberts, we've had a few chats over the years, mate. You keep getting faster and faster, and you've clocked up a nice time there. A little bit of a headwind to combat, but how do you feel, mate, getting that run under your belt early in the season?
Yeah, you know, it feels good to get a good run after my last one. Wasn't too happy with it. Got a PB in a World Junior Qual, so can't be disappointed with that.
Yeah, mate, it's unreal. And what else is in store for the rest of the summer? Where else are you going to go hunting for some more PBs?
ACT champs, and then I'm going to go to Queensland.
And what about the Hunter, mate? You love running here?
Oh, yeah, I like the warm track. Good crowd, good atmosphere. Love it.
Great work. There's Will Roberts, folks, our winner tonight in the men's 100 metres. Great stuff, Will.
That men's 100 metre final. And talk us through this, guys.
Andrews two outside. Roberts had a very good angle out the start. Roberts was able to get up high pretty quick again.
Very good reaction time from all gentlemen, particularly nice long drive face. Feeling the pressure there from the under 20 Oceania 200 metre record holder on his left shoulder. But he was successful over the line.
So look for Wern, who got away well, but McPherson, well, a little further on her inside. Going well in lane 3 as well is Snow, but Wern now comes into a running. Duvet going well on her outside, but Christine Wern is going to run away from this field. Really good race for second. I think it was Emily Duve on the outside and Tia McPherson getting up on the inside in lane 4. But Christine Wern, class to the 4, unofficial time of 11.7 seconds. Oh, pardon me, 12.10. I think the photo finish is playing a little havoc here.
We have our winner of the women's 100 metres, Christine Wern, in a time of 12.10 from the Mountie Athletics Club. Congratulations, Christine. Can you tell us a little bit about the Mounties Athletics Club?
Well, it's a pretty new athletics club. It's been around for a couple of years. It's run by some very, very nice people, and it's a very supportive club.
Whereabouts are the Mounties based?
Mount Pritchard in Sydney.
Excellent. Now, we put you in a field of teenagers. As a 13-year-old, you've torn up the track. What's it like running against the youngsters?
I thought to myself, I hope I don't get beaten by youngsters. It'll be a bit embarrassing if I get beaten by youngsters, but they're all very talented, which is why they're here. So they've all run a good race, so it was good.
And I think you might have to watch out for them in the years ahead. Well done, Christine. From the Mounties Athletics Club, we're going to hear more and more about them in the future from Mount Pritchard. Congratulations on a great run tonight. Thank you.
3 laps and 3 quarters, and off they go.
So underway now in the B race of the men's 1500 metres. Elliot Metcalf and Finbar Warren look to be heading to the front of the field there. Looks to be quite tactical at the moment. Youcef, as you say, no pacemaker in this race, so not likely to be a big lot of pace there. And you can see that they're 4 or 5 wide as they come around the home turn for the first time.
Yeah, Angus Beer from Newington wearing his black uniform. He will be the one to watch. Very comfortable looking at the way he's moving. He's very smooth. And funny enough, he's got a his coach. He trains with a triathlete coach. They're having a training camp here, and he's got about 20 of his group coming to see him, which is great.
Through 400 metres there in about 62 seconds there. And
Angus is just sitting in second at the moment. As you can see, he looks very comfortable, very mature as well, the way he races. Funny enough, he doesn't have a specific athletics coach. He actually, as I said, he trains with a triathlete or triathlon coach.
so Metcalf leads them around. Angus Beer getting a nice little sit there in second as the camera just jumps around a little bit. as they come through the 800 metre mark now, and they're going to be just over about 2:04 through the 800 metres. So the field starting to stretch out a little bit now. Stefan Music looking to make a little move up on the outside there in the Randwick Botany singlet. And you can see young Finbar Warren of UTS sitting in fourth on the rail. So Metcalf from Beer. And you can see there just sitting at third is also Harrison Wade, as Finbar Warren and Stefan Music start to drop off the back. So Metcalf, Beer and Wade are the leading three, as the gap of a couple of metres starts to open up to the rest of the field as they come into a lap to go.
It's a very honest pace, and I'm surprised Angus looks like he's struggling a little bit, but the gap is opening up.
Metcalf has led all the way, start to finish. Beer second now, and it looks like Wade has just gone around the outside of him as Stefan Music comes into the race. 1200 in about 3:07. So Metcalf from Wade now. Stefan Music sitting in third now. He's gone around the outside of Angus Beer, but Metcalf comes up to the 200 metre mark and will run through it in about 3:20. So Metcalf is out the front by himself. Better part of about 10 metres. And he's thrown down the gauntlet to this field. Angus Beer's come back into the race, but he won't be able to get down the end of him. It's Wade and Music now going up to the shoulder of the Wade. Finbar Warren trying to run his way into it, but Elliot Metcalf leads all the way, 3:53. Stefan Music, and I think Finbar Warren just got over the back of Harrison Wade for third. But an honest pace there, 3:53, not bad for a B race, Youcef.
Yeah, 3:53 without a pacemaker, and obviously a lot of work at the front. Front running is always tough, but I think they would be happy with that 3:53.
So underway cleanly in the women's 1500 metres. So you can see there the girls cleanly underway here in the women's 1500 metres.
And this will be a similar race to the boys, Matt. There's no pacemaker, so it will be interesting to see how these girls will manage the race. Looks like they're just jogging at the moment. We might see a sprint finish at the end. Hopefully they will pick up the pace.
So you can see there Tia Brady and Georgia Winkup going to the front with Izzy Thornton-Bott and Sarah Marvin. Emily Augustine just starting to get up on her outside, and Georgia Winkup goes to the front now through the 400 metre mark in about 73 seconds or so.
So we are looking at about 4:30 pace. Georgia Winkup is still leading the pack. You can see some girls are slightly struggling, but 1500 meters, it's a tough event.
Winkup still sitting on the front, Tia Brady in her back, and the girls start to fall into single file now as the pace starts to pick up. Izzy Thornton-Bott in her return to racing is sitting on the front there of Emily Augustine and Sarah Marvin. Amy O'Halloran just sits behind them. So Winkup starting to stretch out this field a bit. Brady spends second a lot of the run, then Izzy Thornton-Bott. The order just starting to change a little bit further back as Sarah Marvin starts to get up on the shoulder. About 2:25 or so as they go through the 800 metre mark. And you can see there Winkup looks like she's starting to labour a bit on the front of this field. Tia Brady hasn't done much work at all second. And Izzy Thornton-Bott now starting to look to get up onto her shoulder.
That's a tough way to run the 1500 meters, leading from the front. Sometimes it could work and kill the opposition early and hopefully have enough in the legs to sprint home. That's obviously the tactics of Georgia Wingcap, but perhaps she might have just did a little too much work on her own.
About 3:21 through the bell. Izzy Thornton-Bott now goes to the shoulder of Wingcup and gets around the outside of her. Wingcup might have done too much work on the front early. Brady now also coming up to the shoulder of Wingcup. And Sarah Marvin now coming up around the outside as well. Through the 1200 metre mark in about 3:42. And it's Thornton-Bott of UTS leading the field. Wingcup starting to fall back in the field now after doing so much of the front running early. Amy O'Halloran also starting to run away into the race. Sarah Marvin of Sydney University sits in second. Through the 200, 3:58. Thornton-Bott's opened up a lead of about 5 metres on Marvin. Then comes Amy O'Halloran and Tia Brady, who had a beautiful sit for the vast majority of the race in second. Thornton-Bott leads them, 150 to run. Marvin second. Can she throw down the challenge to the UTS girl, who's looking to prove that she belongs in the A races at these meets? Amy O'Halloran, been at this level for a long time, starting to move onto the outside of Marvin and trying to chase down the youngster from Sydney University. But Izzy Thornton-Bott has put in a stellar performance out front, and she's going to take it out in 4:32 or so. Then Sarah Marvin. Then came Amy O'Halloran. Tia Brady hung on for fourth. Wingcup was brave early, fifth. Emily Augustine, sixth, as some of the other youngsters start to come around and complete this field. The unofficial winning time, 4:33.
Back from injury, so that was my first race back and I was really nervous, and we've had a few things happen in our family this week which had been real major setbacks, so to come away with a win at the historic Hunter Track Classic is, even if it's the B race, just means everything to me.
Of course, how close to the PB were you there?
I wasn't sure what it was across the line.
4:34 and a bit?
Yep, that's my PB.
Ring the bell, folks. We love a PB here at the Hunter Track Classic. Great work. And everyone in the audience is wondering, that doesn't sound like a Newcastle or a North Sydney accent. Tell us exactly where it's home.
I originally come from England, but I've been here since 2014.
And in the Ashes, you obviously cheer for?
I don't follow the Ashes.
Probably a good answer. Hey, well done, Isabella Thornton-Bott. Getting the PB, getting the win there. And what a great win it was for the UTS North athlete.
So the Ben Steeplefield just getting introduced now. From the inside out, position 1, Jessie Dunsmore, Matthew Gillis, Riley Shaw, the very talented youngster from Victoria, 23 years old, runs in position 3. Will Atkinson, the 19-year-old from Essex West, in 4. Declan Rich will run out of position number 5. Jacob Cox in position number 6. As the field gets underway, Joe Burgess in position 7, Ben Buckingham, Victoria, position 8. Max Stevens, position 9. Jack Brown, position 10. Dylan Holland out of 11. Toby O'Brien in 12. Stuart Geddes in 13. And Max Mahon, the 18-year-old from UTS, rounds out the field and he'll wear hip number 14. Youcef, who do you like in this one?
Well, it's a big field, which is great because recently we have a lot of juniors, but then somehow we lose them and they don't filter through, and our seniors in this event at the moment it's very weak. And when you look at all schools, for example, or national juniors, we always have full field. So hopefully all the juniors who are doing steeple keep doing it, and hopefully we can see more and more athletes at senior level doing steeplechase. Back to your question, Matt. Sorry, I had to dance around the table. Riley Shaw, he an interesting young man. He's studying in the US and training over there, and he's back in Australia now, I believe, training with Craig Mottram. I will be very interested to see how he goes tonight. But also we have Joe Burgess. He's been doing steeple for a while. Hopefully he will go under 9 minutes. I know he's been chasing that 9 minutes barrier for a while. Yeah, we'll see how they go. It's a tough event. I've done it so many times. I mean, running 3,000 meters, it's hard, and then you have to get over these barriers. It's not an easy task, but the mental element is very important, especially in the middle of the race, or sometimes they lose focus when they get to the water jump. Yeah, we'll be very interested to see the development of this race in the next few laps.
Joe Burgess, PB of 9:07, as you said, looking to get under that 9-minute mark. Jacob Cox, another one from South Australia with a PB of 9:01, I'm sure would love to get underneath. Riley Shaw is the fastest man in this race this season. Ran an 8:57 at the Stygian Spectacular down in Geelong. And that's actually separated by only a couple of tenths of a second to Ben Buckingham. He's a fellow Victorian, also clocking 8:57 at the Stygian meet just a couple of days before Christmas. Right, that 8:57 run by Riley Shaw is in fact the fastest time in Australia this season of any athlete. As we see Morgan Mitchell just lurking around in the background there, getting ready for a 400 metres. So Max Stevens from South Australia leads them around. And Ben Buckingham just sitting up on the back of him as Riley Shaw in the fluoro yellow singlet starts to come into the race. A lot of these athletes sponsored, of course, not wearing their club uniforms.
Another front running again. Matthew, we've seen a lot of front running today. The 1500 meters B, both the men and women. And in the steeple, another front running, which is very, very tough to do in the steeplechase. I still think Riley Shaw in third position is having an intelligent run, but they cannot let the gap increase by too much.
So Max Stevens letting them down the back straight once again. Riley Shaw now has moved up into second position. And it looks like another one of the boys trying to make a move around the outside there. Let's have a look at the time, Youcef. They're about 4:40 or so as they come up to the water jump.
It's always interesting, Matt, when you see them at the water jump. That's how you can tell whether they're getting tired or not, the way they come out of the water jump. At this point in time, or at this stage of the race, I think that they all look still very composed. Obviously, we still have a few laps.
Now, just in terms of things to watch for in this race, a few of the boys are eligible for World Junior qualifiers. The World Junior qualifier is 8:59.4, so just that 9-minute barrier is really the goal. Will Atkinson, Jesse Dunsmore, Stuart Geddes, Dylan Holland and Max Mahn are all eligible for the World Junior qualifier. Commonwealth Games A qualifier is 8:32 and the B qualifier 8:45, and so Riley Shaw would have to improve about 12 seconds on that run at Stygian to get himself a B qualifier for the Commonwealth Games.
I'm very impressed by Max Stevens, Matt. I really thought maybe he committed himself a bit too early, but he looks in control of the race. The gap is only increasing at this stage, and it doesn't look like they will catch him. They will be coming up to 2 laps to go. He has a good 15 to 20 meters on Riley.
And Jacob Cox, I think, the South Australian, sitting in third. Max Stevens, not unexpected this performance. He's a sub-9 athlete, PB of 8:57, part of Adam Dydek's squad. Of course, the coach of the great Jess Trangove and Team Tempo run down there. Some fine athletes coming out of that squad, really starting to put South Australia back on the distance running map in Australia after the scene's been dominated for the last few years by New South Wales and Victoria.
And you mentioned Jacob Cox just a few seconds ago. He's been visiting New South Wales quite a lot. I mean, we are not complaining. We love having him here. But obviously he's looking to improve his time.
You see there, just a really good shot of the labouring on the face of Max Stevens, really starting to search for some oxygen there. And in contrast, Riley Shaw looks pretty comfortable. You see there, Youcef, the real hard work on the face of Stevens. Riley Shaw, the mouth isn't open.
Riley Shaw, he's having an intelligent run, but I'm just not sure. I think he must have left it a little bit late. Having said that, he looks like he's surging at the moment. I mean, he still has 250 meters to go, so it's not over yet, but definitely he could have committed a little bit earlier.
Stevens has looked completely buggered for about the last 600 metres, but credit to him, he's held the pace out the front. Last water jump as Riley Shaw comes up behind him now.
And he still kept his composure, Matthew. So even though he looks like he's labouring and doing a lot of work, I mean, front running in the steeplechase is very difficult.
And look, this is going to be a big PB for Max Stevens. He's come into this with a PB of 8:57, and that's going to get smashed. 8:47.62 unofficial. And that's just an agonisingly couple of seconds outside the Commonwealth Games B qualifier. Riley Shaw comes home in second, and Jacob Cox, from South Australia, rounds up the top three. Joe Burgess, Sydney University, won't finally break that sub-9 today as the rest of the field starts to come across the line. That was Stuart Geddes of the Armidale Athletics Club. And Benny Buckingham from Victoria. The rest of the field starts to come across the line now. An official winning time, I think, of 8:47.62. So that's just over two and a half seconds outside the Commonwealth Games B qualifier. Youcef, if he can get into a race with someone like a James Niparis and get a few laps lead from the champ, that may well put him under that Commonwealth Games qualifier.
Yeah, that's right, Matthew, and I think it's very encouraging. He led from the start, and as I said, it's very hard to do in a steeplechase, and in fact in any middle distance event. So
we'll just pause to hear something from Max now.
Him
capitalising on that and just get over the hurdles in between. So yeah, stoked.
We got you down as 8:47.62. Can you find 2.62 seconds in the near future?
Oh, you like to hope so. Didn't think I'd be that close this year, but obviously home games, everyone lifts a bit, and like the qualifier's there for a reason. You got to respect it and give it your best shot and see how close you get.
Now you've come over from South Australia. What other steeples do you have coming up that you might be able to snare that 2.6 seconds?
I think I'll sit down with my coach Adam Dydek when I get home and we'll work it out. We got state champs in a couple of weeks and Jacob Cox will be there and I'm sure he'll be happy to help, and if not, go to nationals and see how you go.
All right, well, thank you for coming all the way to the 100 Track Classic. Congratulations, Max Stevens, the winner tonight of our men's 3,000 metre steeple. Thank you.
Thank you.
As Dottie mentioned there, 2.6 seconds for Max Stevens to find, for him to put himself in a position to jump on a plane to the Gold Coast, represent his country at the Commonwealth Games. As some of the boys here just coming to finish.
Brett Eaton, all former great Australian athletes in their day. Obviously a little bit past their use-by date at the moment, but they're all having a go at the thing. So we're looking forward to see Cowie out there in the shot put. But I'm going to hand back to you, give it back. The steeple's underway, so I'll go back up to my box and leave you alone.
Benny often knows something about running at a top level as well. But yes, one of the races of the night here, the women's 3,000 metre steeplechase. We'll just go through the field. Brianna Elana runs for the University of Western Australia wearing hip number 1. Beth Croft, the World Junior representative, runs for Sydney University in position 2. Montana McAvoy for Ipswich in 3. Charlotte Wilson up from Victoria in position number 4. Paige Campbell, Sydney University, ran a Com Games B qualifier down at the Vic Milers Club just before Christmas, runs in position number 5. Vic Mitchell, the dual Olympian, 36 years of age now, but still running at the absolute top level in hip number 6. And Stella Radford rounds out the field, Victoria, wearing hip number 7. It's a small field, Youcef, but it's a very, very classy one.
Yeah, that's right, Matthew, and especially with, as you mentioned, Victoria Mitchell. She's 35, I believe, and she still loves running and loves this event. She's still going strong. Very often you will see her running by herself or with a group at Centennial Park, so she's a very committed athlete. The only difficulty, I guess, she runs on her own quite a lot. Obviously, we have other steeplechasers who are not here tonight, Jen Lacaze and Madeleine Heiner. I know Jen is training up at Falls Creek. I'm sure she will have a very hectic schedule leading up to the Commonwealth Games. I'm sure her goal will be to snatch a medal. She did very well at the Rio Olympics, and a medal at the Commonwealth Games will be within her reach. Back to the steeple, they're just clearing up the water jump. Beth Croft is struggling slightly to keep up with this pack.
Just falling off the back there a little bit. I know she's had a big block of altitude at Jindabyne. Raced at the Illawarra Track Challenge a couple of weeks ago by her own admission, certainly not a finest hour, but on the back of, I think, 2 days after coming down from a very heavy altitude block, not surprising. But Mitchell goes to the front, Charlotte Wilson there coming up into second, and Brianna Elana sits in third. Vic does have the fastest time in Australia this year, a 9:53 that she ran back in October in Sydney. Elana is the second fastest in the field and in Australia this year with a 9:56. Paige Campbell, of course, with a 9:57 at the Vic Milers. Charlotte Wilson in the same race, about 5 seconds behind her with a 10:02. And Marnie Ponton is the next fastest in Australia, who's not in this race. But so the top 4 fastest times in the country this year are represented in this race in Mitchell, Elana, Campbell and Wilson. Charlotte Wilson, of course, third at the Australian Championships last year behind Vic Mitchell and Stella Radford, also in this race. And you'd throw a blanket over the top 5 at the moment.
Charlotte Wilson, she's actually looking quite strong at the moment. And to be honest, if I was racing in a steeple, that will be the perfect position. Just tuck in second place, let the person in front do the work, and then obviously start charging ahead with probably a K to go or a couple laps to go. That's the perfect way to run a steeple, but obviously you need to find that person who is setting up the pace. It's not always the case, but Vic Mitchell, she has been running all these races on her own for quite some times now, so she's used to being at the front. And she looks quite relaxed, Matthew. Vic Mitchell, she's very much in charge at the moment, but as I said, Charlotte Wilson, she's very determined. I saw her earlier when she checked in and had a quick chat, and she's in good shape, and all these girls they were looking forward to this race. For most of them, it's the first serious race of the season.
Just been a bit of movement in the field. Stella Radford, just earlier in that lap, started to try and come up into this leading group of 4 to really put herself to the front of the field. But I think the pace might have just picked up a little bit, because you can see there her facial expression starting to labour a fair bit, and the rubber band just starting to stretch out a bit to this leading group of 4 of Mitchell, Wilson, Elana and Paige Campbell. Paige Campbell could be running herself into a very nice time here. Vic Mitchell, as you say, Youcef, quite used to doing the front running, but she may well be inadvertently setting up a few of these girls behind her for a pretty hot time.
Yeah, that's right. It will be very interesting to see how the next couple laps will develop. Certainly at this stage, Vic Mitchell, she's still looking in charge of this race. She's a very experienced runner, so even though she's at the front, she is aware that everyone is behind her. I know it's not the best feeling when you have 3 or 4 girls breathing down your neck, but I think the pace slowed down slightly as well, because obviously she's aware of all the girls are trying to work off her.
Charlotte Wilson has just sat in that one back, one out position on the shoulder of Mitchell all the way around, and Elana has really had a lovely sit in there on the rail, going the shortest way around but with cover. Paige Campbell still looking reasonably comfortable, not breathing too heavily by the looks of it, and Wilson now goes around the shoulder of Mitchell, throwing down the gauntlet to the dual Olympian. So they come through 7:04.
The last K of a steeplechase is always the hardest. So if you are going to break your position, it's in the last K, the last couple laps. And Charlotte Wilson, she's just doing that.
You can see now that pace has really started to quicken. You could have thrown a blanket over them for the first 5 or 6 laps, and now Charlotte Wilson has really turned this into a staying test. She's gone to the front, gap of a couple of metres to Mitchell, and now Paige Campbell goes up on the shoulder of Elana.
And Victoria Mitchell in second there. She's not letting Charlotte get away too much. She is aware of the danger. You cannot afford to give them even a meter at this stage of the race.
You can see Mitchell, as you say, is just closing that gap right back up. Elana knows what it's like to run at the absolute top level. She's an NCAA finalist, both indoors and outdoors. She also has a Com Games qualifier, the 9:56. She ran in Perth only a couple of weeks ago to give her a Com Games B qualifier as well. Paige Campbell starting to get up on the rail, onto the back of Wilson on the inside of Mitchell. Up to the 400 to go now, and well, this could be anyone's race. We said it could be the race of the night, and it's certainly shaping up to be that way. 8:33 on the clock, so this could be a reasonably fast time as well. I think we're going to get some more Commonwealth Games B qualifiers out of this. 9:42 is the Com Games A qualifier. They've got about a minute to run to get to that. Not quite sure that'll go, but certainly some more B qualifiers on the cards here as Elana starts to fall off the back. Still Wilson from Mitchell and Campbell as they go up the back straight. And you see there Campbell moves to the outside and goes around the shoulder of the dual Olympian. Can she throw down the gauntlet to Charlotte Wilson? Wilson has a PB of 10:02. And Campbell's PB, 9:57 run at the Vic Milers. I have a strong feeling that's going to be history very shortly. Campbell to the front of the field. That includes a dual Olympian and the best steeplers in the country, absent the Australian record holder. Opens up a gap of about 10 metres with 150 to run as they go past the water jump for the last time. Wilson really working hard to get out of the water the last time. And now Mitchell's gone around her outside. Campbell into the straight. Can the Olympian come back at her? The last hurdle to clear for Paige Campbell. Big personal best on the cards here. 9:40, 9:57 was the previous mark. That's going to get decimated. Paige Campbell beats a class field, 9:49. Vic Mitchell's going to pick up another Com Games qualifier, about 9:52. Then Charlotte Wilson, 9:55. Elana comes through 9:58, and it may well have been the first 4, depending on official times, that have run Commonwealth Games B qualifiers here. As the rest of the field starts to come over the line. This is Stella Radford coming in at about 10:13 pace. And we'll wait for the girls to get their breath, and Robbo or Dottie will catch up with Paige Campbell, but she has knocked off certainly the best steeplechase field assembled in Australia this season.
Paige Campbell, 8-second PB now winner tonight. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was a very exciting race to watch. You had a pack going until the last lap. What was it like to run?
Yeah, it was really good. I got a pretty cruisy run behind the others, but the headwind was a little bit strong, but it was a good race.
And your second B qualifier, this is becoming a little bit of a habit. Well done. If you've got some more events coming up soon, you can really push towards an A. With big PBs like that, you might get there.
Hopefully, probably just nationals now. Yeah.
All right, well, congratulations. Your second B qualifier on winning the women's 3,000 metre steeplechase in a time of 9:49.69. Paige Campbell, Sydney University Athletics.
The ones to watch for, Huff Molino, and then on their inside, Ivor Metcalf and Daniel Small. Cleanly away. Huff got away well. Molino looks to be just in front of him at the moment. And on the inside, Ivor Metcalf of the University of New South Wales got out really well. But Huff coming into his running now. 3 times the Australian champion. Run for Australia more times than you can count. And he takes across this field. Jeez, it was a close race for second.
Yeah, we noticed early in the race there, Molino hit 2 or 3 hurdles, unfortunately, after his start. But he recovered very, very well. Very close for second there.
Huff set it up pretty well at the start. I think there's a bit more to come from him this season.
Yeah, we would have loved to have just softened that breeze a little bit for you just for that 14 seconds, but how was it from your end, mate?
Oh, yeah, not too bad. It's only my second race this season, so it's good just to race the other guys, and even though there's a headwind, it's still a good race.
Tell the crowd out there watching, they're wondering exactly how high those things are. How high are they?
So they're 106.7 centimetres, so 3'6".
How tall are you?
6'2".
Wow, so it's twice a year, over and over and over. Hey, when's the next comp? You've got Nationals not too far away. Another couple of runs before then?
Yeah, I'll have a run in Canberra next week and the New South Wales State Championships, and then rest up for Nationals.
Awesome, mate. Well done once again. We love having you here. Well done on getting the win. Once again at the Hunter, congratulations and all the best for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
There's Nick Huff, a gentleman, and we'll hopefully see him at the Commonwealth Games. Dottie in...
So we'll have a look now back at this replay, guys. Just got interrupted there by the interview. As you said, Molino got away well, but then cleaned up a couple of the hurdles.
And the first few steps as well. Huff spent longer driving off the floor. Molino had a couple of quick steps, maybe mistimed them. And as you can see, knocks those first few over.
Metcalf running very composed there on Huff's left shoulder as well. And
Huff cleanly over every hurdle.
it's a very clean race for him.
By a long shot.
And I think Metcalf may have just got Molino on the line.
Anyone take it up to Mitchell? Cleanly away at the first time of asking. Mitchell starting to go well in the centre of the track, and she's already made up the ground on the youngster Carly Thomas outside her. Going well on the outside, Danica Sandelich for Sydney Pacific out in lane 7. Courtney Schultz starting to labour a bit out in lane 8. They're about 24 seconds or so through the first 200 metres, and Morgan Mitchell, unsurprisingly, goes to the front of the field. She's already opened up 10 metres on the rest of them, and the Olympic semi-finalist, finalist in the relay, goes to the front of this field and is going to dominate the Hunter Track Classic once again, like she's done so many times before. Look at the time, 52.10 for the A qualifier. She's already got it. It's going to be another B qualifier, I'd say. Carly Thomas, huge run second. And then over on the inside, Sarah Klein and Jen Cowie. Schultz struggled late. But Morgan Mitchell, what a superstar she is. The official time, 52 77, so actually just be just outside of a B qualifier.
Joined by Morgan Mitchell down here. 52.77, the end time there for Morgan. We'll just come across this way. You can start your warm down now. I know you love coming to the Hunty. That's 4 from 4 now, getting the win. And but tell us, I guess more importantly than that, how are you positioned based on your season at the moment? How's it been going, training, and how are you feeling after that run tonight?
It's been a long season. Off to a rocky start, but I think we're getting it together now. I mean, I've been hammering myself in training, so to run that off of like one of the hardest blocks I've ever had, I'm pretty happy. But yeah, I mean, we're just trying to chill for a bit. You don't win medals in January, so to tick that box, yeah, I'm pretty happy.
Awesome. Now, I know you love coming up here to Newcastle, hanging out at our beautiful beaches. Tell us where you were yesterday. Where do you get your coffee? Which beach do you hit when you're here?
I love the Blue Dog Cafe and Merriweather Beach. I go there every year. I can't actually see myself going anywhere else. But yeah, no, I do love Newcastle, and thanks for having me, guys.
What about that? She's a champion. What would you say to any of the athletes that you train with, that you're on teams with, about coming to the Hunter Track Classic? If they haven't been here before, how would you sell it to them?
Oh, I'm not good at sell. Just come. I don't know. It's a sick place. Just come.
Morgan says, come along. Well done, Morgan Mitchell. Great work. There she is, getting our win 4 in a row, folks. Can you believe it? And I reckon we might be seeing her in the green and gold come April as well.
Our good friend Brian Rowe used to run that meet. But yeah, back to Newcastle. 12.5 laps, Matthew. What are we expecting from this race?
It's a good question. I think the story of the race is really the youngsters. Ed Goddard, the 20-year-old, Matt Hodson, not so much a youngster, but remember, of course, Brad Milosevic is in this field, the 28-year-old World Championships marathon runner. And it looks like, to me, that Joe Burgess might be doing some pacing duties here. He ran the steeplechase earlier tonight, but before we talk about the race too much, let me take you through the field. In hip number order, Jackson Sharp, the 18-year-old from the Loo Mountains, already has a World Junior qualifier for the 1,500 metres. Charlie Doherty of UTS, Brad Milosevic, of course, of World Championships fame. Jared Clifford, one of the best athletes, Paralympic or Olympic in Australia. Sean Bowes of Randwick Botany, Nick Earl, Kieran Tall, Sydney Striders, very talented youngster, he's 20 years old. Lewis McAfee, Jack Cole-Reevy, another World Championships athlete from last year, part of that Team Tempo Run squad. Sam Bine, Ed Goddard, Zach Facchione, another talented youngster from Randwick Botany Harriers. Dylan Evans, Joe Burgess, and Sean Greeny, I've been told, is a late addition. And the ones to look for, Youcef, I think, have a good look at Jared Clifford, who's about 5th in the run now, green singlet with the glasses on. This youngster is one of the most talented athletes you're likely to see going around in Australia at the moment. He won a bronze medal at the IPC World Championships last year in the 1,500 metres. He was part of the Paralympic team in 2016, competed in the 1,500 and the 5,000. And he made his senior debut in Australian side back in 2015 at the IPC Championships at only 16 years of age. So he's a super talented youngster. As the pace looks to be pretty honest here, Youcef. They're pretty well strung out. Looks like Joe Burgess doing a bit of pacemaking.
Yeah, he is. I spoke with his coach before the race, and he wasn't feeling great, and I'm surprised he actually is pacing, which is great. He's helping the other athletes. At this stage, he's going around 66, 67, which is around the 13:45 to 13:50 pace. So we will see whether they will keep up this pace.
So the first 2 laps, 67, 69. They were 2:16 through the first 800 metres. As they come up to a kilometre now, you see the crowd out there on the track. 2:49 as they go through 1K. So sub-3 pace.
Yeah, at this stage they are just around that 14-minute pace. Obviously, it will get difficult. Joe Burgess just stopped. I don't know if he did 3 laps. But it will be tough for these guys, but they are used to doing this kind of races. Hopefully they will get a group to work together. It's very hard to get all the
the big guns. They are training up at Falls Creek. So this event is a little bit early for our best middle distance runners. Nevertheless, it's a good opportunity for the youngsters to step up. One of them is Jackson Sharp and Zach Facchioni. Brad Milosevic is in the middle of the pack. He's looking very comfortable. The 5K is probably a little bit short for him, but it's definitely good training. Gain some speed for the longer events, the half marathons and the marathon. Yeah, that is around the 14:20 pace, Matthew, which is the level of these guys. So they are running within their PBs, so to speak. Some of them have a PB of about 14:10, 14:11. But you can tell they're all working really hard. It's a single file, so it's always a sign that the pace is quite honest for these guys. The pacemaker, Sean Quinn, is doing a good job. He's lasting the distance. Yeah, they have just over 5 laps to go, Matthew, and it's still, I couldn't pick a winner. Looking at these guys. Yeah, definitely with 5 laps to go, I think if you are going to break the opposition, this is probably the right stage in the race to do that. But obviously, Ed Goddard is right behind him. He's not going to let him go. And Zach Facchioni at the back. He's a youngster, but he's very tough runner.
So 8:31 through the 3K, and you can see the gauntlet that Milosevic is.
Yeah, it looks like Brad wants to share the workload. He's inviting Ed to do a little bit of work. Obviously, it's a smart move. He doesn't want to be leading the race and then out-kicked at the end.
Right, Ed took up the invitation there, Youcef. I'm not sure I'd be looking to help out at this point of the race. The youngster, trying to make a name for himself on the open circuit, doing favours for a man who's run for Australia at open level.
I think it's very brave because if they want to run a solid time, they need to work together. So I'd rather finish second with a fast time than win a race in a slow time. So bit of a teamwork at the moment between Ed and Brad Milosevic, which is good to see. Hopefully they will keep this pace honest. And at the end,
another 69-second lap there. The one to talk about in this leading pack as well is Dylan Evans, a 26-year-old visiting us from Tasmania. He's in the back of that chase group with McAfee, Colreevy and Evans sitting on the back. You see Zach Facchioni there in the back of the shot just labouring along. And that didn't look like an invitation from Goddard to me, Youcef. I think Milosevic trying to break the man with a K to run.
Yeah, he's running very, very smart. Obviously, he had his tactics worked out with his coach, Ken Green. But the race is still not won. They have 2 laps to go. Just over 2 laps to go, Matthew.
Good race on here for third. The order hasn't changed. McAfee is really working hard there, and he's set in that position for a lot of the race. We get the 800 to go mark here, and they are at 11:55 as they run through the 4200, and that was a 67-second lap. So they're looking likely to negative split this race if they can hold this pace, and it's always impressive when you get to track racing. As the boys head up the back straight for the second to last time, and they're going to start to come into some lap traffic.
The facial expression from Brad, obviously you can tell he's hurting. But the interesting thing about these distance runners, they train, they do a lot of mileage. So even though their facial expression is showing they're struggling, but they're able to keep the pace going.
They're about 14.10 pace through the 4K mark, so the crowd encouraging the field on there. Into the straight for the second to last time. Milosevic really working hard out the front, but as you say, marathon runner, he knows how to hurt. Goddard working hard, but he looks determined in second. They're going to get the bell. 13.02 or so, 13.03. And it was a 68-second lap. So here it is, the battle between the established Open World Championship athlete in Brad Milosevic, marathon strength, versus the young up-and-comer from Nick Bromley's Sydney track team, affiliated with the Melbourne Track Club. And Ed Goddard throws down the gauntlet. He's done more short racing than Milosevic, the marathoner, and this could be a big scalp for the youngster from UTS. 200 to run, 13.35. And can he break the rubber band? And Brad Milosevic, you know his leg strength won't be lacking, but can the youngster find some speed in those young legs? Just 20 years old, Ed Goddard from UTS North, and he's opened up a gap of about 5 metres to Milosevic, who's had a worrying look over the shoulder. And for my money, the youngster has put the sword to the Australian marathoner. This is a coming-of-age run for Goddard. 14.06, it's going to be a PB. Milosevic second. As the rest of the field comes across the line, McAfee did a brilliant job. He was third all the way, then Cole Reevy, then Dylan Evans from Tasmania. These boys coming through in about 14.18 pace. Zach Facchiani, the youngster, is going to get run down on the line. Jackson Sharp, the man who's got World Junior qualifiers at 1,500 metres. And some more good finishes here for the Sydney Running Academy boys. Kieran Tall, one of the central performance boys there from Ben Liddy's squad. That was very impressive. And a spare a hand as well for Jared Clifford, who is coming around the home turn. He's got the glasses off, and you can see there it's an incredibly brave performance of a para-athlete to take up the fight to these open athletes. And Jared Clifford's going to come across the line. Just looks like he might have had something in his eyes there as well. But Jared Clifford, a very impressive run, 15.20 or so. Youcef will no doubt get an interview with Ed, but a coming-of-age run, I'd suggest.
Yeah, that was a very honest pace, and obviously when you run a PB, you will be happy with that. And it was great to see the team work, and they were able to keep the pace going. Ed was running a very smart race, but Brad Milosevic,
hoping to sit in a bit more early, but the pace didn't really follow the makers, and so I sort of found myself like, oh, you got to commit or you got to not commit. But so I just sort of went with the paces, try to catch them, like make up the gap, and then saw Brad on my shoulder and knew I was going to be in for a tough one, and he didn't disappoint.
Well done, gentlemen. Put on a great battle here tonight.
Can we get confirmation of a world lead?
World lead here tonight. I think it would be. World lead here tonight. We'll have to look that one up. Unconfirmed world lead. Ed Goddard, well done. And I reckon we get you boys under 14 minutes next time. What do you reckon?
Sounds pretty good to me. Love to.
All right, there we go. There they are, the stars of the 5,000 metre men's race. And Dottie, I believe...
but she will definitely try and have a dig. Let's see.
So underway in the women's 1,500 metres. And the tactics here are going to be interesting. Blundell immediately goes to the front of the field as they run through the 100-metre mark. Abby Reagan getting up onto a shoulder, and so is Lauren Reid, the girl that got the better of her at the Albie Thomas. Sarah McDermott gets a sit in fourth. Amy Harding to lose, sitting in just behind her. Melinda Witchard of University up on the outside of a few of them. The youngsters, unsurprisingly, just falling back in a field that is this classy. Blundell to the front from Reagan. McDermott on the rail, then Lauren Reid. And just sitting in behind her is Amy Harding to lose. 48 through the first 300. Reid's at the front. Reagan choosing not to take a sit, but just to protect her position on the inside. As said, she's the form athlete in the country this year over 1,500 metres. as they come around to the 400 metre mark in 65. Good gap opening up early. Blundell to Reagan, and then you can see a gap of a couple of metres opening up to the balance of the field already. Lauren Reid a couple of metres back, and then the rest of the field dropping off. So it's a race of two out the front, and they are the two-class athletes in the race, Youcef.
Yeah, definitely looking at the splits, we are aiming for 407, 408, 409, thereabouts. We will be interesting to see how Jenny will handle the next couple laps.
Commonwealth Games B qualifier is 4:10, and the World Junior qualifier, keep an eye on, is 4:21 with a few of the girls, Abby, Imogen and Sarah McDermott, the main threat eligible for the World Junior Championships. Imogen, pardon me, of course, far too young for that. So Blundell leads them through. 68 second lap there on the front of Abby Reagan, and you can see there a really good shot of just how far this race has been blown open by. So we wait for them to come into the back straight. Blundell from Reagan, gap of about a metre, and then Lauren Reid sitting third in the run as we just struggle with the back straight camera there. Blundell throwing down the gauntlet with 600 metres to run. They're at 2:31, and Reagan getting on her back and maybe looking to move up to a shoulder now. The gap well and truly opening up. You can see there how far it's been blown open. This is going to be a 400-500 metre kick down for the front two. Reagan hasn't done much work. She's been right on the back of Blundell, and we'll see. You got to know at some point she's going to throw down a challenge to the Olympic semi-finalist. Lauren Reid is a lonely third, and the rest of the chase pack coming through. They go through the bell at 3:05. See what they can run for the final 400 metres, 4:10, as I said. The Commonwealth Games B qualifier, that might just be a bridge too far. Ken Blundell, who's done all the work by herself out the front the whole way around. Hold off Abigail Reagan of Randwick Botany. Done more 1,500 metre racing this year. Reagan now chasing her up the back straight. Blundell hasn't managed to break the rubber band yet. Still only about a metre or so. Reagan trying to come up onto her back. And the gap back to Lauren Reid hasn't changed a bit. 200 to run, 3:39 or so. 4:10 is on the cards here. The Commonwealth Games B qualifier. Blundell might have broken Reagan here. We'll see what she's got with 150 to go as the crowd start to come into it. 120 to run for the Olympic semi-finalists from Sydney University. Into the straight. Reagan second, Reid third. Look at the clock now. 4:10 is what we want. It might just be too much, but Jenny Blundell went to the front early, never headed. She's going to beat Abby Reagan, and she's just over 4:10. But pardon me, Jenny Blundell beats home Abby Reagan. Lauren Reid could only manage third over the 1,500 metres. So the rest of the field carts to come in now. Melinda Witchard, young Imogen Stewart. Sarah McDermott will be just outside the World Junior qualifier. Amy Harding to lose as the rest of the field starts to come across the line. But Youcef Abdi, for a race without a pacemaker, to be only a couple of seconds outside the Com Games B qualifier, front running all the way, that was impressive.
Yeah, it is impressive, Matthew, and no doubt Jenny will have more races lined up and race against each other.
So from the inside out here at the Hunter Track Classic, Stapleton, Garland Barnes, Forthorpe, Hunter, Plummer, Walters, Tyler, Hockey, Hanson, McDonald, Vining, Cole, Sinclair, Waring, Johnson and Huffer. Pace will be interesting. I'm not sure whether they've got a pacemaker. That actually looks like one of the Sydney Running Academy boys, so they may well be pace in this race. We haven't been given the details of that. James Hanson gets a nice little sit on the rail there, third the rail, just on the inside. One of the Randwick Botany boys, Morgan McDonald, of course, of the World Championships, 5,000 metres last year. Jack Stapleton also getting a nice little sit up on the inside. Adrian Plummer there as well as they go through 43 flat for 300 metres. And they come to the bell for the first, come up to the 400 metre mark, I should say. And the pace is going to take them through in about 57 seconds, 58.
Interesting with Morgan McDonald, he hasn't raced since World Champs last year.
See Josh Johnson trying to make a move up the outside there. I'm thinking this is, that's Tom Forthorpe, I think, struggling to see at the moment, who sits, and there it is. I think we do have two pacemakers up the front, so hip numbers just serving me, but no, pardon me, that is Tom Forthorpe sitting as the effective leader of the race. So he's really gone right up to the back of this pace. James Hansen is effective second, and then comes Stapleton and McDonald. Sitting in behind them is Adrian Plummer, and sitting in the back there, you've got the rest of the field just starting to string out. 52.5, I'm being told, was the lap there, and as they come up through the 800 metre mark in about 1:58. So a real honest pace here as the pacemaker pulls off the track, Youcef.
Yeah, it's a very solid pace. I will be interested to see how Morgan McDonald will go. Craig Huffer, the tall figure of Craig Huffer just behind him. He's been in the States as well for a few years now. He has a PB, I think, of 3:36, so a very handy runner. Not in that kind of shape right now, but...
he actually ran 3:53 at the Fifth Avenue Mile in New York, obviously not on a track, but shows just how fast his legs can move. So Forthorpe, I would suggest, a surprise leader of this race. I wouldn't have picked that coming into it. James Hansen broke his first 4-minute mile at the Albie Thomas there, 2:42 as they take the bell. Jack Stapleton looking to run his way back into the form that's eluded him since he burst onto the scene at the World Junior Championships. And Morgan McDonald, the World Champs rep, coming up onto his shoulder now, going around his outside. So does Adrian Plummer. Josh Johnson also looking to move his way into the race. You see this figure, he's just shot out very wide. McDonald's gone to the front. This is going to be a real last 200 metres, and Josh Johnson for the Bankstown Track Project and Team Telford goes to the front. Look for James Hansen to get around on his outside. Fresh off the back of his first sub-4 mile at the Albie Thomas. McDonald, the 5,000 metre specialist, is looking to struggle, but now gets on the outside of Johnson, who might have gone too early. Hansen leads them into the straight. Then McDonald. Johnson working too hard. Forthorpe did all the work early, but the World Championships representative over the 5,000 metres, who looked gone with 200 to go, takes out the 1,500 at Hunter from Hansen. Then Forthorpe, Johnson, Plummer, as Craig Huffer comes over the line from Ed Vining. And the rest of the field starts to come through. The unofficial time is a 3:39.15. That's a super performance here at the Hunter Track Classic. We'll just let the girls get away. But of course, the Victorian duo to really watch for is Duncan and Hall. The other great story, just as we get into this race, as Beth Croft goes to the front pacemaking, we're chatting about last night, is Emily Brikacek, who was so impressive back at the Commonwealth Games in 2014, placed 7th in the 5,000. 3 times she's run for Australia at the World Cross Country Championships, and she ran, of course, as well in the 5K at the 2015 World Championships. Looks set for the Olympics, same thing. Stress fracture kept her out of the Games despite a last-ditch attempt to get back into it, and after 15 months or so out of the sport, returned to racing last year at the Zatopek 10. And her personal best is actually 15:19, if I'm not mistaken. And that is a good 30 seconds faster than anyone else in that field. So if she can, when you think about the class of that field, that is a crazily impressive stat to think about.
Yeah, that's right, Matthew. And the 3 girls, Melissa Duncan, Lyndon Hall, and Emily Brikacek, obviously it's a Commonwealth year. They will be working very hard to get those 3 spots, whether it's the 5K, obviously. They're running the 5K.
73-second first lap. Mention the Com Games use of the Com Games. A qualifier is 15:22, B qualifier 15:45. The fastest in Australia this year is a 16:02 run by Marnie Ponton in Sydney. But that was all the way back in February of last year during the qualifying period. This season, Mel Duncan is the fastest in this race with a 16:19, which she ran to take out the Victorian 5K Championships just before the end of November. So Croft doing the pacing duties out the front. And Lyndon Hall has run her way into second position. Well, pardon me, the effective leader of the race, of course. And Mel Duncan also sitting up on the back of Hall. Single file as they go up the back straight towards 1K.
It's a long way, Matthew, the 5K. So these girls, they will just pace themselves, but try and get as much as they can from Beth Croft, the pacemaker. Hopefully she will do a few laps because she did the steeplechase early on and she pulled out of the steeplechase. I was actually worried. I thought she was injured, but she's out there running and pacing, helping out. It's great to see.
So we talked about it before the race, and there it is. Croft the pacer, and then 3:03 through the 1K. 15:17 pace at the moment. That's a pretty handy, speedy start as Beth Croft steps off the track. But it's the three we talked about, Hall, Duncan, Brickercheck, the leading three. And on the back of this train, we're definitely going to find out where Emily is.
Exactly, and these three girls, it will be interesting to see whether they will work together. They don't train together. They have different coaches, but they share the same goal, and their goal is to get to the Commonwealth Games. They all have a story. They all went through the ups and downs of injuries, so I assume they are very determined to go away from Newcastle with a good performance.
72-second lap there, so the pace is well and truly on here. Lyndon Hall, Mel Duncan, Emily Brickercheck, and you can see there it's a really nice shot of the gap that they've opened up on the rest of this field, 50 metres or so, maybe even more, as they come up to the 1400 metre mark in about 4:13.
So Lyndon Hall is coached by Bruce Scriven. Melissa Duncan, Nick Pidal. She was at Falls Creek doing some altitude training, so she's in top shape. She looks in top shape. And Emily Brickercheck, she was with Dick Telford, but recently she switched and she's with Sean Crichton.
It's that 73-second lap as well. So, real honest pace here. They've just punched out 73, 74-second laps.
Lyndon Hall is not scared of front running, but when you have someone like Melissa Duncan and Emily Brickercheck behind you, I assume at some stage she will probably rethink her tactics. She will probably invite them to do some of the work.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if there's any collaboration going on between competing Victorian squads. Emily Brickercheck, just really impressed to see her back racing. She has spoken extensively about some of the battles she had to get back to a love of running. Really struggled with having to miss the Rio Olympics on the back of those stress fractures near her shins, and spoke quite extensively about just needing to take time to get herself into the right headspace to be able to compete again. You know, you look at her, about 6:06 there as they go through the 2,000 metre mark, and geez, that's just a real good example of how quick these girls are going. 15:15 pace, if they can hold it. They have gone out certainly quick, but we're just talking about Emily Brickercheck's background. That PB of 15:19 was run back at the Peyton Jordan meet in May of 2015. There was a pretty handy one behind her in that race. Camille Buscombe was in the same race and ran 15:54, and the race was won by Sally Kipiogo, of course, the famous Kenyan, second in the Olympic 10,000 metres in London, and fourth in the 5,000 at the World Championships last year. Emily's trained with the best of them, trained with Mo Farah and Laura Waitman up at the Home of Champions in Eden in Kenya. at altitude, and it's a crying shame, and just one of many, many examples of how injury can really cruel some incredibly promising careers.
Yeah, it's devastating, Matthew, especially for any athlete to go to the Olympics. It's a dream. You work hard for so long, put your life on hold, and when something like this happens, you get injured at the wrong time. It's just devastating.
There was another 72-second lap there, so they're really going at a decent clip here. So 7:38 or so through the halfway mark, and that's 15:16 pace. This is really shaping up to be a real talking point race if the girls can hold this pace, Youcef.
I'm very surprised they still remain in their order position. No one has. We can see the gap is starting to open up, but it's still not that big. But Linden Hall to be at the front, pushing through, knowing those two girls are right behind her, it takes courage.
I may well have missed it in the run, but it doesn't look to me that she's gestured or motioned to Duncan to take up any of the running. It doesn't appear that the question has been asked as they punch in another 74. And that rubber band just starting to open a little bit to Bricacek, fourth at the Zatopek, so certainly in good shape, just perhaps not PB shape, which is certainly understandable in her second race after a 15-month layoff. Having said that, she's not giving up the goose. She's still right about there, only 4 or 5 metres behind. And Mel Duncan may well just be poised to strike here.
Very interesting, because the instructions that she received from her coach, Bruce Scriven, is to go to the front and run as hard as you can. And it suits Melissa Duncan very well. She's just following at the moment, and she is in a great position, the best position out of the two, I would say. And they both look fresh, they both look comfortable, but
this is remarkable. We'll get a lap split here, but I think you'll find Bricacek hasn't so much fallen off as these girls have really picked it up. 73 for that 400, but I'm told that there was a real surge to the 200 metres in that lap, and they look to have succeeded in dropping Bricacek off the back of these two. So Linden Hall and Mel Duncan going to come down to the 3K mark now.
They both look comfortable, in control, very composed. And sometimes the cameras, when you're watching middle distance running on TV, it doesn't do them justice, because looking at them, they actually move quite fast.
Certainly do. I said 3K to go. They have a mile to go. I correct myself. Well, you should have a look at these two who now clearly lead the race. Linden Hall has a personal best of 15:53. Mel Duncan 16:19. You can rest assured that that is about to be obliterated. Linden, of course, the semi-finalist over 1,500 metres in Rio, went to the World Championships last year, and a bronze medalist at the 2014 NCAA Championships, which was certainly one of the most competitive races in the world. 75-second lap there, so just starting to come off the boil a little bit, but that's not at all surprising given the speed they've gone through the first 3.5 kilometres at. So they come into the straight for the third to last time.
Emily Bricacek, she's struggling a little, but she is still working really hard to stay on pace, or at least get a solid time. It's very hard when you are running on your own.
11:37 as they go through the 1,200 metre go mark, and look at the rubber band starting to break here. Linden Hall starting to stretch out on Mel Duncan, and this is a remarkable performance by Linden Hall, Youcef, to sit on the front for almost 4 kilometres now. They're going to come up to. That's a remarkable effort.
According to her coach Bruce Scrivo, she's in great shape, and obviously she came here with a mission to run fast. Whether there is assistance from a pacemaker or not, she's very determined to run a fast pace.
She is certainly not proving her coach a liar, because they just went through in about 16:22 or so for the 4Ks, and there was another 74-second lap as Lyndon Hall comes into the straight for the second to last time. The times we're looking for: the Commonwealth Games A qualifier 15:22, the B qualifier 15:45. Now, absent catastrophe, I would be very surprised if a B qualifier doesn't go here. 12:52. So she has just over 2:30 exactly. Can she run 2:75 laps to get to the Commonwealth Games A qualifier over the 5,000 metres? Of course, traditionally a 1,500 metre specialist. That's where she's done the vast majority of her running for Australia. And we will look at the splits here. But look at the gap that's been opened up there. The gap of about 60 or 70 metres that Hall has dropped Duncan in the space of little more than a lap.
Yeah, it's very hard for Melissa, I think, because coming back from injury, you need a good few weeks, if not few months of solid training to get back into fitness. And the 5K being a long race, you really need to be at your full capacity and be fit 100%.
That was a 75-second lap, so she is just so touch and go for this Commonwealth Games A qualifier. The crowd here at the Hunter Sports Stadium are going to have to get behind her. What has she got? 14:07. That was a bang-on 75-second lap. She needs another one of those, and she will put herself in pole position to get on the plane to the Gold Coast in very likely a couple of events. Goes into the back straight for the final time. Emily Brikacek is getting herself up under the back of Mel Duncan now, and she might have done too much work too early, Duncan. But the story is out the front of the race. The Commonwealth Games A qualifier is 16:22. That was a 43-second 200 metres. Sorry, pardon me, 43 seconds to get to the line. She's on here. Lyndon Hall into the straight for the final time. 16:22 is the time we need. 15:22, pardon me. Got 20 seconds to get there, and I'm feeling confident about this. Lyndon Hall down the straight for the final time. She going to run a Com Games A qualifier? You bet she is. 15:18 for Lyndon Hall. Don't worry about performance of the night. They had just been knocked out of the water. There was a performance of the meet competition here run by Athletics New South Wales. You don't need to worry about that because it's just been taken in the main event. Emily Brikacek, what a performance. What a comeback. 15:46. And she's gotten over the back of Mel Duncan, who ran 15:53 in the end, sub 16. These are all still lightning fast times, but Mel Duncan clearly just did too much work too early as the rest of the field comes over the line. And Emily down on her haunches justifiably. I mean, put that in context, Youcef, to come back after a 15-month layoff, one race at Zatopek on the way in, and then run 30 seconds or so outside what was already an incredibly impressive personal best performance. I know she was looking for the love of running. She might have just found it again.
Yeah, that's great, Matthew. As I mentioned earlier, distance running, when you get injured at the wrong time, and this is with any sport for that matter, it's very hard to come back. You need a lot of dedication, a lot of...
We'll just hear from Lyndon.
First of all, Benny Offrens is from Athletics New South Wales. The 100 Track Classic Performance of the Meet Cup. And Lyndon Hall has taken that out in style here tonight. Congratulations. You can put it down if you need to. Lyndon, well done. Tell you what, not a bad run as we bring home our final runner here. Congratulations there to Lauren McKillop. But did you know you had that in you before you turned up here in Newcastle this weekend?
Yeah, training's been going really well, so we really wanted to have a real crack. It's probably the only 5K I'll run, I hope. So didn't want to waste the opportunity and have anything left at the end.
It's always interesting to see where our athletes go. Some overshoot their distance, some undershoot in the early parts of the season, so clearly not launching a career in 5,000s just yet. Step back to the 15s.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the 15 for a bit longer, definitely. But nice to have a new challenge and an event that I'm able to run a PB and makes you feel good going into the rest of the season.
Pretty handy, as we said, Commonwealth Games A qualifier. A big PB for you there by 30 seconds or so, which is awesome, and a world lead as we've been spruiking all night as well. So pretty handy to do that in what's not your favourite event. Where's the 1500 going to? Where are you going to try and target the 1500 before nationals? Hit nationals or a couple of races before?
Going to have a quick turnaround and run a 15 next weekend in Canberra. So got a week to cram 1500 training and some lactic.
Awesome work. We'll let you go and rest up here now and recover. Well done, Lyndon Hall. Congratulations. Athlete of the night, athlete of the meet, and what a fantastic run there to finish things off. Well done.
Thank you so much. It's been a great night.
And world lead time to boot.
What a 2018 Hunter Track Classic as we come out to wrap up the meet. Get around here, Youcef. Well, what a night. I started the night talking about how we might have to worry about the Com Games compressed season forcing us all to look to Canberra or something for good performances. How wrong I was. What was your highlight, Lani?
I definitely have to be. Look, you can't go past Lyndon Hall's just almost 4 seconds into an A qualifier for the Commonwealth Games with a world lead as well. That is such a impressive A-grade performance of the night, especially being the last event of the night. So congratulations to her.
Jack Collett, what'd you make of it, mate?
Oh, look, I thought Tyler Gunn's form was pretty good in the men's 400. He absolutely smashed the field. Nick Huff as well. Morgan Mitchell did too, but nothing goes past Lyndon Hall tonight. That was awesome.
Youcef Abdi, did you pick something other than Lyndon Hall for us? We know how impressive it was, but what a night of athletics.
Yeah, definitely, Matthew. But I would like to mention Morgan McDonald. He did exceptionally well. He's here on his own. His coach is in the US. And to come out and run a 3:39, which is very solid. Under 3:40 is always a solid time. It's impressive.
Certainly was. Lyndon Hall, obviously, the best performance of the night, no question at all. But I want to give a shout out as well to Paige Campbell. When you lined that field up earlier tonight, Paige certainly in the mix, but she wasn't the favourite. She's knocked off a dual Olympian, Charlotte Wilson, Stella Radford. That was a absolutely stacked steeplechase field, and Paige Campbell is really announcing herself as an open contender. Looking forward to Jen Lacar's having her first real hit out of the season, but tell you what, once we get cracking with Open Nationals in the steeplechase, there's going to be 4, 5 or 6 girls all with a shake of qualification for the Gold Coast. Thank you very much for joining me, team. This has been the live stream for the 2018 Hunter Track Classic. It's been a sensational night of athletics. Bye for now.